Much for coming. I want to start with a warning. I am a journalist, so I am not an expert on anything. Far from it. Like the saying goes in Spanish, el periodista es un océano de conocimientos de un centímetro de profundidad. So it's something like the journalist is a sea of knowledge, 1 inch deep. Anyways, I do want to start by saying that I am very proud of being a small part of this project, of what started as an amazing and exciting project quite long time ago. I was asked by my friends at the workshop to do the foreword of the book, which I feel honored to have been asked to do this small piece. And I am also thrilled by the fact that this book is entirely produced and written by women. I say this, it may seem like an insignificant detail for many of you in this room, but when you come from Latin America, like I do, where machismo is very still alive, you can...
Not just in Latin America.
And where women have to work hard, twice as hard to get to the same place as men, it is really a feast to be able to witness a book of this sort, to give birth of a book where these women have, 6 women, have not only proved that they are very talented, but they are also very stubborn, and they don't take no for an answer. And enhorabuena.
Thank you. Thank you, Odette. It's a great honor to be here. It's absolutely wonderful, a wonderful project, and I was thrilled when I was asked to take part in the presentation. I've read the book with relish. It is outstanding. The level, the quality of the writing is incredible. And I just want to talk a little bit about exile. And to be an exiled woman is extremely difficult, but to be an exiled woman writer, it is even worse. I mean, in the sense that you're an outsider, and all this adds to the difficulties of being a writer. Perdón. Yes? For acceptance and recognition. Although this is a book of poetry, there is a narrative in the book. The narrative is how these 6 amazing women have made their adoptive country into their own country, and how they have decisively contributed, both as professional women and as writers and artists, to the British cultural scene, and most definitely to our wonderful multicultural society. The book is called Wonder Makers, and rightly so, as the theme is about the transformative power of poetry. And the book is divided into 8 sections, and I will just highlight some of the lines, verses that really got me and made me actually tremble from the power and the beauty of such lines. The first section is fractures, and I'm just quoting briefly what Maria Eugenia says in her poem called Absence. It is on death as silence, about what you could have been, about being alone, about waiting for who is never to come back. Ultimately, she talks about death as exile and its pain. Sophia, in her poem, in this section, talks about a recipe for the soul, which is wonderful. All those things that will sweeten your sadness, a language of scents and flavors. She makes us smile with her surreal images of a lemon making love to salt, as if food were alive, with its sounds, aromas, and excitement. Food as something placating pain and betrayal, which, as she says, are huge. In Mexican Woman, in this section, Mabel Encinas compiles a very moving list of the most lyrical succession of events, from thunder to rainbow. This is a poem for 3 voices, and staggered in its recitation, so that out of the confusion of the storm calm will follow. In the next section, Furies, Consuelo Rivera, in her poem A Song for Bones Without Memory, makes a very powerful feminist statement. Tengo derecho a escribir mi historia de mujer. I'm entitled to write my own story as a woman. And she calls it her story. H-E-R story, she says, a woman's story. This is who I am, she says, and I'm here today, she says, very much in the affirmative, and I have added Y-E-S here. It's all about being affirmative in this event. It's about saying yes. Yes, we can. Under the next section, Maravilladoras, Wonder Makers, Marijo, Alba describes this wonder perfectly. We are all from the same mother. Sophia talks about immigrant women, describing them as mermaids, arriving in this their land of exile with a broken heart. And yet, how they danced, how they sang. Ultimately, these women were able to rescue themselves. And they write poetry, she says, when no one is looking. Power stems from within. Isabel Ros explains it by saying, I have a circle of witches in my heart. Consuelo sings that we do not like patriarchy, the fatherland, and talks of matria instead of patria, which translates as motherland, and with women speaking all languages, from Spanish to Quechua, from Nahuatl to Euskera, adding humorously, and we murmur in English. In Seafarers, the next section, the six poets look around the world for love, memories, and identity. As Maria Eugenia says, we dreamt that everything was possible, even the impossible. Marijo finds freedom. I can fly, and yet, despite the elation, she ends with the words, and outside the day continues to weep. Under another section, Otherhood, we find the poem Ritual, where Maria Eugenia talks about the sanitizing going on, about the concealment with artificially created perfumes, concealing the stench of poverty and hunger, the horrors of war. And that poem is called The Kingdom of Midas. Consuelo describes in her poem Londinium what the city London has become from the beginning of time, how it all came to be from Roman times to our present day, and a city where it's so cruel, a very cruel city to so many. Isabel Ros talks about the otherhood of women. Where are the women who want to change the future? For now, they're only seen as the ones who give birth to all those who will one day be dead. And she calls them los futuros muertos. Selfies about the search of identity, and Sophia in Water Woman identifies with the natural world around her. The anaconda, the rainbow, the ones who give birth, the harvest, the blue water, the water to drink with both hands. A beautiful image, drinking water with both hands. And finally, the last section is links, and Mabel talks about the shortest distance between things. In maths, between continents, with words. There is now no distance, solely the distance between who you are and your keyboard. And also now there is no distance in love either. And Consuelo, I just want to quote the final verse from Consuelo. She ends her poem thinking of you with intense, distressing words. They have guillotined my poem. I cannot finish it. In all, a brilliant book and 6 wonderful women writers. Thank you very much. Thank you.
When we're trying to make this some kind of a dialogue, so like all dialogue, it's back and forth and medio desordenado, ¿cómo se dice eso?
Untidy.
Yes. Anyways, while I was listening, I was thinking that I'd like to believe that when you are able to read, to smile while you read a poem, like it happened, like it is the case in this book, you're in good hands. And if you can smile and cry with the same poem, you couldn't be at better hands. So having said that, I wanted to comment and share with you two thoughts that came to my mind while I was reading this book for the fourth or fifth time when I was asked to say a couple of words. I think this book has many achievements from the literary point of view, but I want to underline two things that I think are very pleasant surprises in the book. One of them, again, it might seem so obvious, but I love this book because it's a book of poetry that I could understand. It made sense to me. I could even relate to it. You know those books of poetry that you have to read it almost with a thesaurus and a dictionary by your side so you can get a sense of what are they trying to tell me, what they're trying to say. And it's kind of complicated. It takes a long time and you have to be really smart and and all those things. And in this case, it was like these 6 women were talking to me all the time, and I didn't even know them. I only knew 2 of them when I got here. But I felt they were close to my heart. They had been through things that I have gone through. They talked like normal people would talk. The only difference was that they really had a huge gift, and they were very talented. But it was what a relief to read simple and beautiful poetry. That's one thing. And the other is that I felt that there was a choice they had made, in the sense that these are writers that put themselves out there, that take a risk, that make a bet. These are women that are not afraid to expose themselves, in the sense that they, in each poem, every time I read one of these poems, there was a sense of that they were uncovering themselves. And it was so rare again, because you find this poetry where many writers do the opposite. They use their language against them. These women use the words in their favor. You find again this kind of poetry where language is some sort of a shield, and they try to defend themselves, to protect themselves. They hide their identities, they disguise their feelings or emotions or even ideas. You really don't get to read them in the most profound sense of the word. And in that sense, I felt that they were slowly talking about themselves and others. And that felt, it's a text, it's a book that has a heartbeat, that has warmth, that has humanity, where you can almost put the words together and you have the feeling that they're talking on your behalf. Their voices are your voices. That's one thought that I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
I think not only can we as women identify with everything they say, it's the exile, because we're all either exiles or we came here a long time ago for whatever reason, political exile or economic exile or cultural exile, coming from Spain, most of the Spaniards here. But it is a vision of how difficult it is to survive, and yet you use the difficulties and you use the obstacles as opportunities, and you build on them, and despite everything you write a book, and the book, despite describing terrible problems, it's a political book, it's talking about the plight of women, the plight of many oppressed minorities. It is such an affirmative book. As I said before, it's about a yes, it is a positive book, it is very much, it's full of enthusiasm, and you feel like it's a rush of energy and blood going through your veins when you read it, because it is very much a book that stands for, yes, we will do it despite the difficulties. And that is really, the best thing about the book, I think, apart from the fact that it's beautifully written, and the experiences of our friends here are amazing. They all have incredible lives, incredible experiences. They are contributing, as I said before, to the cultural life of this city, and it's very difficult to contribute to the cultural life in this city, because there's a tough opposition out there, and there are brilliant people everywhere. And I think they're doing it beautifully. And thank you for representing us women, because we have so many problems. Definitely in Latin America, but in London, in our homes, in our offices, everywhere, we stand for, for our freedom. And thank you. I think we agree on that.
It's about time.
It's about time. It's about time.
One last thought. I don't want to go on and on, and time is almost up, but I just wanted to finish the idea that I left behind before that. I'm sorry. If this book also has intimacy in the poetry, in the sense that these women talk about themselves, their friends, their families, the people they left behind, the people that are missing, the grandmother, the father, the childhood that they left behind way too soon. It's strange that together with the silence and the secrecy, the unsaid, the unthinkable that you find in these poems, there's also a deep sense of social awareness that these women share, because it's both. There is intimacy, there's a different tone, a very hushed tone, and at the same time there's this sense of that these women are very much citizens in a way, that they care about the societies they live in, the world around them, and they don't hesitate to speak up and raise their hands and their voices through their poetry, through their work. They point out the bad and the ugly and the miseries of humankind. They communicate, they share their experiences and fantasies in a very generous and humble way. And I believe that at the end of the day, that is what writing is all about. There's one last thing that I cannot not comment on, which is that together with this literary value that the poems have, there is also a commitment that you see in many of their poems, that is their option to deal with memory. It's not to talk about memories. It's not about memories. It's an option, a choice that they make to deal with memory. That is, to dig into words through poetry to find what can be something close to the truth, to their identity, to their sense, to the sense of purpose in life. And that is finally what you can find if you make a bet and try to do some searching, which at the end of the day is memory. I say this because there is, it goes very well with the sense of the navigators that finally have to go through deep waters of words or of memory in order to finally find themselves and find a purpose to this big ordeal that they have to go through to maybe leave their countries or leave their fatherland or motherland and find themselves a new identity, which is, it's not a fake identity, it's just in a way starting over in many ways. And in memory it's not a one-day task. It can take many years, and it can take many tears. So I think that is something that it's worth mentioning, that each one did it in their own way, in their own style, at their own time, but definitely there is a rescue of memory. And I always say, I've written a lot about this. I think it's very important when you have the kind of lives we have, we share. Change is maybe one of the words that defines us best. And I always say that memory is not easy, it's not free. You have to really want it bad, because it can take a lot of pain, but it's also very rewarding in the sense that you can be at peace when you know that you did your best to find yourself again and to somehow weave the stories of your loved ones many years later with a different fabric, if you will. Thank you.
I just wanted to add one thing, and that is about the reinventing of oneself, and that's where the transformative power of poetry, the recreation, the let's do it all over again, and that is what writing is. You reinvent something, and you can even reinvent yourself. As artists, you transform anything you want, starting with yourself, and this is what they've done, without renouncing their past, without giving up what they are, but they have reinvented themselves and grown so much exponentially in the process, and this is the result. Thank you.
Thank you.